What up, my dudes? My name is Steph Koza. Welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about Endgame. Now that I've seen the movie twice, literally saw it 2 days in a row, it's fine. I just love to emotionally torture myself. But I realized there are a lot of really cool Easter eggs in this movie, so I wanted to make a video where I just compile a list of all of the wonderful Easter eggs in Avengers Endgame. Obviously, there will be spoilers in this video. Please do not watch it if you haven't seen Endgame yet. I really don't want to spoil anything for you, but I do have a lot of things to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. I'm gonna do these in like roughly chronological order in how they appear in the movie. So the first Easter egg is right after the 5 years later title appears on the screen, and we see Cap sitting in a circle having this like post-snap therapy session, which is such a Cap thing. Like, he would be hosting a therapy group, you know? But there are a few very significant cameos in that circle. First, we have Joe Russo, one of the Russo brothers who directed Endgame. That one was a little bit more obvious, I think, but the second cameo is Jim Starlin, the guy who created Thanos and created and worked on most of the stories in the Infinity Saga and all of the Thanos related stories. I thought it was really cool that he was in there. There might be some other cameos in that circle. I personally didn't recognize anyone, but it's very possible that everyone in that circle had some sort of significance. So I would love to know if you have any insight. Let me know in the comments below if anyone else in that circle was someone important, because that would be really cool. Next, we're gonna flash forward to when Clint and Natasha are fighting on Vormir, trying to figure out which one of them should sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone. I'm still not over this scene. It was rough for me. But what I loved about this scene, and this isn't really an Easter egg, it's more of sort of a nod to the past, because this fight scene was so similar to the fight scene in Civil War where Natasha and Clint are fighting each other, and very similar to the fight scene that they have in Avengers 1 on the hangar when Clint is being influenced by Loki with the Mind Stone. And it was just like a really nice follow through, a really nice homage and nod to their relationship. And I just think that entire scene was so beautifully well done. It captured their relationship and their essence and their bond and their love for each other in such an iconic way that's very specific to them as people. If you're hearing thunder in the background of this video, there's like a storm happening outside, but I feel like I'm literally in Endgame. Like, because after the snap, there was that booming thunder and no other sound, and every time I hear it, I'm like, Thanos snapped! He snapped us! We're dead! I don't have PTSD from this movie. It's fine. It's totally fine. Also, a much more obvious Easter egg, when Natasha does die, it was like shot for shot identical to when Gamora dies. They used the same musical score, the same aerial shot of her laying dead on the ground. And if you notice at the beginning when Natasha finds Clint as Ronin in Tokyo, I think is where they are, and she confronts him and she gets him to agree to come back with her, they play the same music. It's like a softer sort of reprise of that theme that they play later when she dies and that they played when Gamora died. Foreshadowing! I didn't really realize that the first time I saw the movie, but then the second time I saw it, I was like, oh my god, they're playing this song because later they play it when she dies. Okay, let's fast forward to a much happier, much more fun scene, which is when they go back to New Jersey in 1970, and there are so many little Easter eggs in there. So much fun to be had. So first of all, the most obvious Easter egg, we see Hank Pym in 1970 with his fabulous hair, and the way that they like de-aged him was so impressive. It was weird, but kind of amazing. And he's working on his own Ant-Man suit, trying to figure out all of this quantum realm stuff. And we do see a quick glimpse of the classic original Ant-Man helmet sitting on his desk, which I thought was pretty cool. Then of course we get Stan Lee's cameo, probably his last cameo ever, where he's driving in the car with some babes and he's like, "Make love, not war, man." It was a pretty good cameo, though I'm kind of sad that that is the last one because there's nothing really great about it. I actually really loved his cameo in Captain Marvel. Thought it was kind of iconic in a way because he's reading the script of Mallrats, which is his first cameo ever. I digress, but that was probably the only good thing about Captain Marvel. Okay, we're moving on. Peggy Carter, obviously, not really an Easter egg, just kind of, she's there. But then we see Howard Stark with Jarvis, the OG Jarvis, played by James D'Arcy from the Agent Carter TV show. When Howard gets into the car after he says goodbye to Tony and they hug and it's a beautiful moment. And he gets to the car and he's like, all right, Jarvis, let's go, or something. I don't know what he says. But he calls him Jarvis and I was like, yes! The elevator scene. Man, what a great scene. So when Cap is in the Avengers 1 2012 timeline, he gets into the elevator with all of these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are actually Hydra in disguise. And it is very similar to the elevator scene in Winter Soldier, where he gets in the elevator with them and it's Rumlow. It's like all the same guys. Rumlow puts his hand on his gun and Cap sees it. It's like shot for shot, almost exactly the same scene. So in my head, I was like, oh my God, he's about to whip all their asses and it's going to be amazing. I thought it was going to be like the same kind of fight scene sort of thing. And then instead, he just leans over and he's like, Hail Hydra. Amazing. Oh my God. Not only was that just awesome, just so awesome, it's also a nod to the comics when Cap actually does say Hail Hydra. I just love that we got to see Cap say Hail Hydra in the MCU. I never thought that would happen, but it did and it was great. Fast forward to when they are fighting Thanos and it's like shit's getting real and Thanos busts Cap's shield. He just breaks it apart and it's like broken in half. This is not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar to Tony's vision in Avengers Age of Ultron, where he has this vision that everybody's dead and you see Cap laying on the ground dead with his shield broken in half, very similarly to how it is in Endgame. And you also see Black Widow laying dead on the ground. Foreshadowing! Then we get one of the best Easter eggs, one of the best moments in the entire movie. So Thanos has brought in his entire army. He's got the Chitauri, he's got everybody, and Cap and Iron Man and all the Avengers that are like dying and just getting beat to shit are just like looking around at this giant army being like, we're fucked. It's over. And it's just this sense of like all hope is lost. And then Cap hears something in his little earpiece and it's Sam and he says, on your left.
On your left.
On my left. Got it.
I've never cheered so much in my life. And then all the armies just come in through the portals and it's such an awesome moment, but I just love that they have that little nod to Winter Soldier when Cap and Sam are like training and they're running and Cap just keeps passing Sam every time and he's just like, on your left, on your left, on your left, and it's like this really cute little bonding moment. It's kind of funny.
Don't say it. Don't you say
On
it.
your left.
Come on!
And it's just so iconic that Sam gets to say it now. And that also is kind of a little foreshadowing to the passing of the mantle. Like that was Cap's line and now Sam is saying it, just like how Cap is passing on the shield and the Captain America mantle to Sam. Very significant. Then, of course, we get the A-Force moment when all the female heroes get together and they go at it, which is a nod to Marvel's very first all-female superhero team comic run that happened in 2015, I believe. The comic actually didn't do super well. They canceled it after 1 year because they said it was decidedly feminist, which, yeah, it is. But of course, with Captain Marvel pushing this agenda and this being a very hot topic, it makes sense that they threw it in here. They did something kind of similar in Infinity War, where they had Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, and what's-her-face, the villain, I can't remember her name. And they had that really cool fight scene. Pretty similar to that scene, maybe a little bit more on the nose. I actually didn't really like this choice at first, and then I realized it's almost kind of a jab at Captain Marvel, if you think about it, because first Captain Marvel comes in and she's like about to go in and try to kill Thanos, and then all of these other female superheroes enter and they actually walk in front of her and kind of block her and put her to the back, and they're like, we got you. And it almost makes you realize that while they've been pushing Captain Marvel as like, oh, finally we get this strong female badass superhero, and then everyone else comes in and they're like, we've been here all this time. We're here. We've got a lot of badass female heroes. And that's why I kind of am okay with it. Because it's like, Captain Marvel, you're fine, but you're not the only one. There are a lot of us. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then it's directly followed by Scarlet Witch pummeling the literal shit out of Thanos. That was so satisfying. Just so satisfying. My god, what a badass. I think she's way more badass than Captain Marvel, if I do say so myself. Okay, so now let's fast forward a little bit to my boy, the godfather of the MCU, Mr. Tony Stark, sacrificing himself for the greater good. So the reason I'm adding this to my Easter egg list is because there's sort of an Easter egg in Avengers 1. Maybe not an Easter egg, but it's sort of like it's something. It's relevant. I'm just gonna say it. So in Avengers 1, Cap says to Iron Man, "You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play." And they have a lot of little banter moments about this concept, about how Cap is the one that would lay down his life to save everyone, and Tony is the one who would find a more practical solution. Like, there's a part where Cap is like, "Tony, would you lay down on the wire to save everyone?" And Tony's like, "No, I would cut the wire."
You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play, to lay down on a wire and let the other guy crawl over you.
I think I would just cut the wire.
Always a way out. You know, you may not be a threat, but you better stop pretending to be a hero.
And it's like a really good representation of how they're different from each other and how they're divided, which is a huge theme going forward all the way until this movie, pretty much. They're divided in Civil War, they're divided in Infinity War, they're divided at the beginning of Endgame when Tony is like getting really mad at Cap for them not fighting together, and that's why they lost. So it's almost like up until like maybe Act 2 of this movie, they finally kind of join forces. And in that same way, Tony finally understands that he has to lay down his life to save everyone. Which you could argue that he also did do that in Avengers 1, he just survived, but this is a much bigger moment. And of course, if it wasn't obvious, it's like such an obvious Easter egg, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's the best moment. When Thanos says, "I am inevitable," and then Tony gets the stones, they're in his glove, and he says, "I am Iron Man." Which is obviously a nod to the end of Iron Man 1, the first movie that kicked off this 22 movie extravaganza.
I am Iron Man.
And it's just such a great moment. Like, it's his last words in the first movie. It's his last words in the last movie. So satisfying. Oh my god. It's just a really great bookend to Tony's story. Some other great foreshadowing that I didn't notice until my second viewing is near the beginning of the film when Tony figures out time travel and he's sitting on the couch talking to Pepper about it. And he's like, "I could just nip this in the butt. I could stop right here, throw it in the ocean. We can live our life." And Pepper is like, "But would you be able to rest?" When he's dying, Pepper looks at him and she's like, "We're gonna be okay. You can rest now." Oh my god. It just hurts me so much. Okay, moving on to another Easter egg. This one, a lot of people have been very confused about. A lot of people don't know what this is, who this person is. So during Tony's funeral, when they have the big pan across all the Avengers and you see everybody and it's like this great long take, and then they get to this kid and a lot of people are like, "Who the fuck is this kid at Tony's funeral? There's all these really significant people and then this random kid." And then it pans up to Captain Marvel and to Nick Fury. That kid is Harley, the kid from Iron Man 3. Same actor, it's just been a long time. He's now like in his late teens, maybe early 20s. Because he was like 10 years old in Iron Man 3, so he's probably like 17 now. So that's who that kid was. Little Easter egg there. I'm not sure if it has any significance going forward, like if he's gonna play a role, or if it was just like a nice nod and just kind of adds a nice layer of like, he's impacted a lot of people's lives. He impacted this kid's life, so he's at his funeral. I thought it was a nice touch. But it did really throw me off for a minute, because I was like, "Who are you?" And then soon after that, we see Happy sitting with Morgan, Tony's daughter. And this scene made me really emotional. I don't know what it is about Happy and his love for Tony, it just gets me every time. And he's sitting with Morgan, he's like, are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? And she wants a cheeseburger. And he's like, you know, your dad, he liked cheeseburgers. Which is true! Because in Iron Man 1, when he gets rescued and he comes back from Afghanistan, all he wants to do is eat a cheeseburger. And then he has this press release and he's sitting on the floor eating a cheeseburger, and it's such a great iconic moment. He's like, no, cheeseburger first.
There are two things I want to do. I want an American cheeseburger. And the other
That's enough of that.
is not what you think. I want you to call for a press conference now.
Call for a press conference?
Yeah, Hogan,
What on
drive.
earth for?
Cheeseburger first.
And I just love that they referenced that little moment because it was just such a iconic Iron Man Tony Stark thing. And the fact that it was passed on to his daughter is just, it's just like really cute. And it made my heart full. It also really made me want a cheeseburger. Then of course, at the end, Cap finally gets his dance with Peggy. Because in Captain America, the First Avenger, when he's going down in the plane, he's about to crash it into the water, he's like, I'm gonna need a rain check on that dance.
Maggie.
I'm here.
You're gonna need a rain check on that dance.
And then they plan the whole thing, and she's like, don't be late, and it hurts me. But they finally got it. They finally got to dance. Finally. Oh, so satisfying. And then, the final Easter egg. One last Easter egg that a lot of people have missed. I haven't really even seen anyone talking about it because I think everyone went into this movie knowing there's no post-credit scene, so a lot of people just left. I mean, of course, they stayed for like the beautiful credits with the signatures. That was so well done. I loved that so much. I got emotional just watching it. But then a lot of people left after that because they were told there's nothing at the end. But there is something really, really small. Some of you might not think it's worth the wait, but I thought it was really nice. It was a really nice subtle nod, and I really enjoyed it. So at the very, very, very end, after the credits, after all the credits, everything, and then, you know, they're gone, it's just a black screen, and then the Marvel logo like fades onto the screen, and very softly you hear the sound of metal being forged, which is Tony Stark building the first Iron Man Mark I suit in Iron Man 1. It was such a tiny little moment, but I was just like, such a great little nod, a perfect ending, just to remind you where it all started. I'm getting emotional again. And I said this in my spoiler review, but I just love that it's not a tease for what is to come, but a nod to what happened and where it all began and how Tony started it all, and then he saved everyone. And I'm crying. Okay, well, that's all my Easter eggs. If there's anything I missed, which I'm sure, like, this is a 3-hour movie, so much happens. I'm sure there are a lot of little moments that I missed, so let me know in the comments below if you caught anything that I missed. I would love to know about it. There are still a few questions and a few little things that I can't quite explain, like, where is Gamora? Who is Gamora? Why is Gamora? At the end, we see Peter Quill, like, looking for her on the screen, so does that mean she's still out there somewhere? Did she get dusted? Did she die? Did she go back to her original timeline? I don't know. Also, where's Loki? He just, like, poofed out of there with the Tesseract, like, as he would. Very characteristic of him to do that, but where did he go? He's just gonna pop on over to his new TV show, I guess? Is that how they figured that out? And what happened to the timeline? If Steve went back in time to stay with Peggy, wouldn't that mean that he would have started an alternate timeline that would, like, veer off of the main timeline? So then when he aged, he wouldn't be in this timeline. He'd be in this timeline? So then he wouldn't have been able to talk to Sam? I'm so confused. Time travel doesn't make any sense. I would really love to see the part where Steve goes back in time to Vormir to return the Soul Stone to Red Skull, and then he gets there and he's like, well, this is awkward. I really want to see that scene. But that's it for this video. That's everything I have to say. I talked a little bit more in depth about everything in my spoiler review. It's very long. It's like 25 minutes, but you know, it's a very long movie. There's a lot of stuff that happened. I had a lot to say. So feel free to check that out. There will be a link in the doobly-doo below. Also probably a link somewhere around my head over there, over there. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!